Welcome to the ISO Show, dispelling myths and sharing tips for success to improve your business with ISO standards.
If you're listening to this podcast, then you're in great company. We've got thousands of listeners who have a thirst for continual improvement and raising standards in business. Whether your interest is in quality, sustainability, or risk standards, I'd love to welcome you as a member to our online platform for all things ISO, the ISology Hub. The ISology Hub is the leading place to get access to all of your online resources, from in-depth training courses through to our very popular coffee break training, to templates and action plans and many other resources to help raise standards. As a member, you get access to over 100 courses, taking you from learner to practitioner to leader. The ISology Hub has all the resources that you need, which will really help to make your life easier and to help improve compliance in those business critical areas. So if you'd like access to learning and compliance resources ranging from data privacy to environmental management, anti-bribery, business continuity, quality, health and safety, to name just but a few, the list is endless actually, then we'd love you to come and join us. Just head over to the isologyhub.com.
Hello everybody, welcome to another ISO show. Today we have a guest with us. We're going to be chatting to a gentleman called Bas Von Hertom, who works for TUV Nord, which is one of the certification bodies. Welcome Bas, nice to see you today and to hear you. Before we get into things, just tell us what your role with TUV Nord is before I jump into anything else.
Hello everyone. My name is Bas Von Hertom from TUV Nord. I'm a lead auditor on several standards like the ISO 27001, ISO 42001, TSAX, but also industrial automation. And in my role as a lead auditor, I perform audits, actually, basically at all the companies.
Excellent. And today we're going to talk about the differences, commonalities between ISO 27001, which is the Information Security Management System Standard, and ISO 42001, which is really dedicated to artificial intelligence, isn't it? So before we talk the boring stuff, Bas, we always ask this of our guests. Tell me something about you that in the professional world, not many people may know about you.
Well, actually, one thing is that about 5-6 years ago, I always told everyone I would not pursue a career in auditing. and then about 4 years ago, I just came in contact with TUV Nord and I said, let's give it a try. And before I was very technical, hands-on as a systems administrator. But actually that experience will still influences the way I approach the standards and the implementations today. So it actually helped me growing in my profession.
Well, I find that auditing actually teaches me an awful lot because I see the application of standards, certainly in situations where I would not normally have been exposed to them in my own professional career. I'm exposed to sectors that I've not worked with before. I still work with sectors I am used to, but even in those, I learn quite a lot. And I find these podcasts, I learn a lot because I go back, if I talk about a particular standard and clauses from a standard, I go back and reread the standard and look at what I've done with clients and look at the resources we use as a business and keep re-educating myself. So, there's always, as one of our ex-colleagues used to say, it's always a school day.
Yeah, true.
Indeed, yeah. In terms of your organisation, you call it TUV Nord.
Yeah.
I've always called it TUV. Beyond certification, is there any other strings to the organisation's bow? Does it do anything else beyond certification? That's how we know it.
That there is. TUV Nord has a long history in safety and then in a very broad spectrum of industries, from manufacturing and energy to IT, healthcare, even space.
Right.
But our main services are testing, inspection, and certification. So we only act as an independent third party that evaluates whether an organization meets the requirements of a standard or not. And that independence, we strongly believe it's key because it ensures the trust in the certification process by an independent external party.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes we help them understand the requirements or even speak to organizations, but we are not going to implement it in any case in the organization. That's where you come in, I would say.
Exactly. Yeah. And that there is a great importance to third-party independent auditing. And we are still exposed to organisations who've potentially had a history with organisations who are not accredited to certify. And it's important, if you're looking in your supply chain, for instance, to be able to ascertain whether the organisations you're looking at have been through an accredited version of a certification. So very important, I think, that independence. For our listeners who may be new to this, could you explain a little bit about 27001 and 42001 and why people should actually care about them as standards?
Yeah, sure. So the ISO 27001 is the international standard for information security management systems. So it's focused on the information security, and the management system is called the ISMS. It provides a structure for identifying, assessing, and managing risks related to the information security, ensuring availability and resilience on the information security. And then the ISO 42001 is a much newer standard because it's actually about 2 years old and focuses specifically on artificial intelligence management systems, but also on the AI products themselves. So within the standard, you have to look at the products, the AI products used as well.
And as you said, the standard 42001 is only 2 years old, but AI governance and regulatory framework are moving very fast at the moment, aren't they? It's in the news quite a lot. So how does 42001 as a standard, because it's not regulatory, sit alongside, complement the regulatory framework the EU's been acting, of course, as directives within the EU on artificial intelligence? How does it complement that?
It's one of the most important discussions happening right now, of course. And the EU AI Act sets legal obligations to organizations to comply with, or how to comply with the AI Act. It defines some rules, but it doesn't provide guidance on implementations to organizations. And that's where the ISO 42001 comes in. So it translates the high-level regulatory expectations into the operational implementation of AI. So the management systems embeds those principles into the organization.
The act itself is specific on how you do things, and it's like many other acts. It says this is what you must do, but we're not going to tell you how to do it.
They never tell you. They're never going to tell you how to do it.
And both are about managing risk. Is there any difference between 27 and 42 in their approach to managing risk?
Actually, yes. It is both indeed a risk-based approach. However, the nature of risks they address is quite different, of course.
Right.
Because the ISO 27001 focuses on the risk to protect information assets based on the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. And the way for example, the business objectives are defined is usually closely linked to the overall business strategy.
Right, yeah.
So how you would implement it. When you look at the 42001, on the other hand, it deals with a broader and more complex set of risks because it also looks at ethical risks, define ethical risks and how you would measure them, and bias, discrimination on the AI outputs.
Right.
It also looks at society, reputational risks, legal. It's all covered in the trustworthy AI as they describe it.
And that's an interesting concept, isn't it? The societal issues, but also the concept of AI technology having bias within it, which may affect your organisation's outputs.
Absolutely.
Basically. And that may shift in time as well, mightn't it?
Yeah, it will.
As each machine grows and learns.
It is, yeah. And another difference is also that the way the objectives are framed and evaluated in the 42001. Because here you have to look at the AI management system and you have to align them actually to the annex of the standard, which is not very common in the 27001. And it should also align with the AI impact assessment, which describes the wave bias and societal impact and all the other requirements within the standard. So it's
right.
A key difference between the two standards.
And if you already hold 27,001, how much more do you think is required to leap to 42,001? Is there management system standards can overlap quite often? How much is there of that between the two? And can you leverage what you've already done in the second standard, the 42,001?
Well, organizations with the ISO 27001 are definitely have a strong starting position for the 42001 because they already have a core management system in place, like a governance structure, risk assessment processes, internal audits, corrective actions, management, and the continual improvement. So there is a significant overlap on the high level. However, the 42001 also looks at an AI product, which is different from the 27001. And on the other hand, maybe there are some different compliance people actually work with the management system, so they need training and they need to have some extra guidance from a different team or whatever. It's not always the same people.
Right. Okay. So structure, like with all management system standards, I suppose structure follows the high-level structure, the old Annex SL structure, but it's in the detail then.
Yeah, it's in the detail. And I would say normally also other people within the organization who should run the management system.
Yeah, have to bring others in. Okay. So that said, is it wise? Is it possible? Is it normal for people to integrate the two systems into one, an integrated system of information security and AI?
Yes, please. Yeah, in many cases it is.
Yeah.
In many cases it is because it's the most efficient approach to integrate both standards because it's only based on the same harmonized structure, which is called nowadays. That makes the alignment easier for people already having a management system, and it could also be a management system like the 9001, right? Because it's basically
exactly yeah.
It's the same harmonized structure. So in practice, an integrated management system.
It's common approaches, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of integrated management systems. I do a swap and pestle once and then do it again for a different subject. Those things should affect your entire business. So you do a business management system which encompasses whichever facets and standards are appropriate to your business, I think. So yes, I like that idea. Are there sectors or types of organisations where you would probably expect or even recommend that they pursue both standards together rather than tackling them separately? Is there any benefit for particular types of industries rather than everybody?
It's actually for everybody. That's a political answer. So any organization with some form of AI and who believes that information is very important, is the main asset of their organization, I would say go for both standards because it's actually helping you to get in control. But sectors like the financial services, where AI is, for example, used for credit scoring or fraud detection or whatever, or medical companies which actually use AI to determine certain outcomes of their research.
Right.
It's strongly recommended to go for both standards. And
yeah, it sounds fundamental, I suppose, doesn't it? And you're with a certification body. How are certification bodies quoting to their clients for the certification process for these standards? What are the variables for calculating the cost, the time, if you combine the effort in an integrated way?
Well, that's a very good question because it's typically based on the scope and on some variables such as the size of the organization, but also the complexity. And the complexity is very difficult to calculate in advance because you really need some insight on, for example, the AI systems and the amount of AI systems used before you can set a proper calculation for the 42001, which is all described in the 42006, giving the same guidelines like the 27006 for auditing parties on where we can give discount or where we can do the combination discount in the calculation. So it's not an easy answer to to give.
But in general terms, do you feel that an integrated certification approach is beneficial then? In addition to building an integrated system, the integrated certification will be beneficial to people?
I think so, yes, as long as it can be done by the same auditor or the same audit team.
Right, yes.
Then it's strongly recommended because then you can actually integrate some time. If not the same audit team, then you still can separate both audits in time, but make it a combined audit for two management systems.
Okay, right. Now, I like to talk about leadership quite a lot. I mean, for me, systems live and die by the quality of leadership. What advice would you give to a leadership team in an organisation that's trying to build its case for pursuing certification? What are the key things that you say, these are what you put into your case for doing it?
Yeah, first of all, don't wait, just start.
Right.
Because a lot of people seem to wait until it's more common in the market or whatever. Or on the other hand, you have a lot of leadership teams who say, hey, we have to be the first because then we have the strategic advantage in the market. So I would recommend the second one. Just go for it. Just try, because if you have the 27001 already, and most companies do something with the 27001 or similar, then don't wait. Just start with the implementation and start to prepare, at least that you know what kind of risks are there in the organization. Because in the end, it's for the organization themselves, right? It's about their maturity, not.
It is.
It's not for me. It's not for me that you have to go for certification. Do it for yourself and do it to be the best in the market.
Yeah. You did, for me, I find management systems improve a business. But you just mentioned competitive advantage. By improving as a business, you get competitive advantage. But do you know where the landscape of clients is forcing the supply chain into adopting management systems? We certainly see certain clients with certain management systems are being told you must have this certification. So they're being led rather than deciding on it for themselves.
Yeah, that's actually the most customers do have requirements set determined by their customers that they really need to get certified, or at least to show that they are compliant with the ISO 27001 standard, for example.
Yeah.
So in the end, it's driven by their customers and all the requests for information and the request for proposals they get. It's very often that we see that.
So for many of your clients then, they won't be getting business, they won't be getting bids in because organisations will deny them that opportunity without certain certificates then, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. In terms of talking about standards, is there anything else interesting or anything that you could wrap up around 27 and 42001, which would be the key sort of takeaway for us on the subject?
Yeah, just start with it and start to work with it. Get some good guidance on how to implement it, because if you try to do it all by yourself without any guidance, it can be challenging if you've never done it.
Yes.
And there's most certainly some good people who can actually help you with the implementation, and that would make your life way easier.
We like the sound of that. We like to help people, so that's a very good takeaway from that. But there's certain truth to that. Standards are written in a certain way, and they're supposed to be clear and sort of decisive in their language. But some people just don't understand that language. And also, when you take something like 27001, I'm no expert in 27001, but I know quite a bit. There's a lot of technical content in the annex to it. And failing to understand which bits apply or which bits are meaningful to you could be quite detrimental to you, couldn't they?
Yes.
So getting the right advice is important, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
I think so. And if you have an advisor who already works with a certification body like TUV, it would also definitely help because they know the way the local auditors think about the standard, or maybe they know certain key topics that someone is focusing on.
Yeah, good insight.
Yeah.
Yeah, good insight. Well, Bas, we're nearly done. Forget the boring stuff, the standards bit. We always like to find a little bit more about our guests before they leave. So we ask the same couple of questions at the end of every interview. So the first one is, if you could gift a book to somebody, what book would it be and why?
Oh, now I'm not really a reader of many books.
Well, it shouldn't be difficult to choose if there aren't many.
I would definitely choose the book written by my colleague auditor from TUV, Ger Botner, which is about implementation on the ISO 27001, and it really gives some practical insights on the implementation of the standard.
Ah, right. It was good to hear that there are books which cut through and provide practical advice. That will be good.
I haven't discussed with him to mention this book, but I'm sure he agrees.
Are you getting royalties from it?
No, absolutely not.
And lastly, before we finish, what's your favourite quote that you would like to leave with our listeners?
Well, we don't rise to the level of our expectation, but we fall to the level of the systems that we use.
Oh, yeah, I like. Yeah.
That's
a good one. Yeah, I'll remember that. That's good. Well, that's great. Thank you for your insight today, Bas. It's been really, really enjoyable talking to you. I hope our listeners have got as much out of it as I have. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for your time.
No problem. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Before I go, I'd just like to remind everybody to subscribe to the ISO show on your preferred media player if you've not already done so. And if you get a spare 5 minutes, please leave us a review. Nice, shiny 5 stars would be great. The review process opens up to reach a wider audience as well, so that's helpful. As always, if you have any questions, suggestions for future topics, anything you're interested in, you'd like to hear about, please feel free to send us an email or just comment in your media player. We'd love to hear from you on anything. If you want to find out where to pick up that book that Bas mentioned, please let us know. But that's all from me and my guest Bas today. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch up with you on the next ISO show. Thanks, goodbye.
Looking to use ISO standards to drive better business practice? Contact us at blackmoresuk.com to access further information and book your free 15-minute call.